everybody. My name is Ray, and this is Eric, and
Hello.
we are the Fifth Wheel, and decided to bring some of our thoughts and comments to the table here, and gonna talk a little bit about everything. And I guess really where we should get it all started is who we are and how we got started. So. Where did this all begin for us? I guess working at the aquarium store.
Beating shit up over there.
Well, just gotta keep it real. So why stop the recording? Just keep it going. But yeah, I guess working together at the fish store. Never really talking to each other when I first started working there. But I don't know. I guess going to the bars a couple times and.
Yeah, I thought you were a dork.
Yeah, I mean...
And you're still a dork, so...
Some things never change, but yet here we are. We've done God knows how many years together now. I guess, hey, I play guitar, and hey, you play bass, and we got a couple of the same stuff that we're interested in, so let's get together and hang out.
Yeah, totally. And, yeah.
Don't mind him. He's kind of shy. He's not sure what to say. So I'm sure once we get to the
totally shy.
Topic of things, the rants will really start kicking in there. So.
Oh yeah, totally. You won't shut me up then.
But it all started house party at my parents' house.
Yeah, the '90s revival.
The '90s revival. Now that was an interesting time. We spent a good month and a half, 2 months actually practicing our shit and making sure we had it down pat and trying to be professionals about it. And we used to.
What was the first song? Oh yeah, that "Somewhere Over the Rainbow."
Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Me First and the Gimme Gimmes.
But
yeah,
but
that went well.
But for people who weren't there, or for most people like us who vaguely remember the party at all, you got to remember that it was an acoustic party. So, Me First and the Gimme Gimmes punk cover of Somewhere Over the Rainbow, but done acoustically. So it was a very eclectic mix of things there.
Then my favorite part was the next song. What was it? Beer.
Song that I played a billion times over, and I had to teach you how to do it because you didn't know about that.
And you looked over at me like, how's the song go again?
And you were just like,
oh yeah, woo-hoo-hoo.
And we went through the song, and I was like, oh, yeah, right, thanks.
And then during our first break, you were like, thanks. I really needed that help for beer. What? I totally forgot how to play it. You forgot how to... After all these months of practicing, you forgot how to play it.
Yes. I totally forgot how to play beer, but...
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely interesting. That cramp, because you all know how cluttered my house is at my parents' house, and... cramped settings, and we just took everything out of the living room and dumped them into the rooms, and took the treadmill out, took the armchair out, and
I thought it would have been totally cool if we kept the treadmill so I could play bass while on the treadmill.
And don't forget, we had a keg that night, so.
And Ronald with the.
He was the bouncer.
He was the bouncer giving out.
The cherry bombs?
Cherry bombs, yeah.
Yeah, his grain alcohol-soaked cherries.
Didn't he have like a sword too or something?
He had
some kind of weapon.
I remember him having a weapon by the end of the night because he was scared of the ghost dog that was following him home.
If you don't know who Ronald is, we actually wrote a song about this guy called The Creeper.
Which is what you heard, the intro coming in. That was The Creeper. And that's a little snippet of our demo CD that we did a whole 2 songs of.
Let's say he didn't have very good people skills when we were first hanging out with him.
What do you mean first hanging out with him?
He got a little better.
Yeah.
After a while, he stopped creeping out every lady in the world.
Lady? Guys too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit of everyone. So.
Yeah, well.
But yeah, we wrote a song about him, and of course, being a friend of ours, we got his blessings first before saying, hey, we wrote this song, is it cool if we do it? He's like, yeah, that's fine, and I'm sure he totally regrets it now at this point.
Yeah, he totally hates it now.
But we had that crazy night. There were a lot of people there. We had barbecue going on in the back, and did we have a fire going on that night? I don't remember if we ever got around to it.
Wasn't that the night of the hot seat?
May have been the night of the hot seat.
The hot seat was the fire pit was actually a rim to a car, and then
Yes.
you put wood on top, and then the hot seat it was just some bar stool or something that was underneath your.
Yeah, with the kitchen, an old kitchen chair that we had that was made of all wood.
And so you put it on top of there, and like, yeah, we're gonna burn this, and then I'm like, I'm gonna sit on it.
Flames were definitely coming up.
I sat in the hot seat because I'm that hardcore.
Man, I wish I could. I wish I could find the pictures of the hot seat. I don't know where they're at anymore. I'm sure they're somewhere.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't matter because this is a podcast, so people can't see it anyway. So
Yeah, well, we could always repost it on the internet again.
Oh, yeah.
Which reminds me of since I've got the iTunes iOS update and everything, it updated my iPad, and guess what popped up on my iPad?
your mom.
No, but just for FYI for everybody, that will probably be a recurring comeback on both ends of us.
Yeah.
But no. A video that was taken at our good friend Janine's place of a good friend of ours, Stacy, called the Goldschlager Baby episodes.
Oh, you found that?
I found it.
That was like the most hilarious freaking thing I've ever heard.
Those episodes,
Let's say, folks, that this Stacy can't hold her alcohol at all.
that was after a 40 of a Steel Reserve.
Yeah.
And yeah, I found that, and definitely the next show I will have to have that queued up so we can put a few of those snippets in there, because
Yeah.
I think definitely some highlights that can be accentuated. But those were definitely some interesting recordings. I thought I'd lost it forever because Stacy hated those times of looking like a
She deleted Janine's video of it,
yeah.
which was the first half, but you got the
I got the second half.
second half, which was
She tried to delete it, and I think she officially deleted it like off my phone or something. But God
Something
bless
about-
backup.
sticking gold slogger up her vagina and having
Gold-plated babies coming out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where she came up with it, but
And this is why we're doing these shows now, because you can't make this stuff up.
you can't.
I mean, and yeah, it makes for great. Honestly, dude, our lives could have probably been a great sitcom.
Reality show.
Kind of like it could be a reality show, could be a sitcom. It could be like the new
way.
the new age Seinfeld. There is no rhyme or reason to the show. It's just all the random crap that happens to us.
But less crappy.
Oh God, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Less crappy, a lot more entertaining, a little more vulgar. Definitely a TV.
We'll apologize right now to Seinfeld and Larry David and all those who were in that, made that show possible. Sorry.
But yeah, so we had that 90s revival, and just a heads up right now too, please forgive our tangents, because though we have an idea of where the show is going and what we want to do, we will totally be taking a lot of cloverleaf turns, not even U-turns, those cloverleaf turns, and it'll just keep like
We'll take shortcuts, but we'll eventually get to the goal.
that's at some point.
Life's about the journey, not the destination.
Exactly. So, yeah, and we've been, ever since that first 90s revival, we've done a few open mics to kind of get ourselves going, start playing in front of actual random crowds.
Our first one was the Still in Timonium.
And that's thanks to Mr. Ernie Fowler, who's done some great things for us in terms of helping us progress and giving us a lot of good feedback. And a lot of good inspiration to keep going and keep doing what we're doing. So,
Ernie, you're our hero.
big ups to Ernie Fowler. And because of him, we were able to, do a few shows here and there. I mean, nothing, not a whole lot of them, but we did enough. Usually made just enough to pay our bar tab.
Yeah, pretty much.
And the sad thing is, and I'm saying that with having a bar tab as part of our payment, so it just goes to show we drank a lot.
A lot.
Which usually why it leads to these kind of rants and ramblings that we have now.
Yes, it is. Totally is. Blah 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 blah.
Good job, buddy.
Yeah.
So, I guess that'll bring us to our first topic for our first podcast here. That kind of came about, what was it, Friday, I guess. And like usual.
Oh, the whole Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, yeah. So, if you want to start off the story with you were at work and.
Yeah, I was at work and a couple of my coworkers were talking about Nicki Minaj. I'm like, who the hell's that? You got to remember, folks, I'm kind of old. I'm like 38, and I grew up in the 80s, and I listened to stuff from the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, and now the 2000s, come around, and where the hell happened to music? I mean, it's just you got this woman who's dressed who has plastic surgery to make herself look like a Barbie doll. What was with that?
Well, I have no idea. I mean, and it has to deal with today. That's the big topic that I wanted to go over of looks versus talent. And today it seems like it's all about how you look rather than what you can produce.
Like I mentioned earlier, like the 70s and 80s, you could be completely fucking ugly as hell. As long as you had talent, you had a music career.
And honestly, it wasn't
now
just
it's so opposite.
It wasn't just a music career. If you had talent, you didn't just have a music career. You got laid. I mean, you got laid. I mean, nowadays, if you don't even look remotely like what society tells you to, you basically become celibate, involuntarily celibate, and that's pretty much how life is for us.
Pretty much. I mean, we're saying we're not, ogres or anything. I mean, I look better than Ray, but he's got that.
So he likes to think.
He's got the mutton chops. Well, they're kind of baby mutton chops. I mean, they don't go all the way to a point or anything. He's not like Elvis or anything. But yeah, he's got a bean-looking head.
I thought it was more egg-shaped.
Egg-shaped bean, either way.
But that brings me to an interesting point of where is talent today? Because with the whole evolution of using autotune, pretty much you can take anybody and make them sound good and have quote unquote talent to them.
Exactly. I mean, then you got people like Erling Fowler you were talking about earlier. He's got talent, but he's not the greatest looking guy in the world. I mean, he's not ugly, but he's really talented. And didn't he go out for The Voice?
He went out for The Voice, and he didn't make it. I mean, he made it past a few of the preliminary rounds and everything, but he didn't quite make it to the point of getting on the show to even get a shot.
And then it's like, it's probably because, you can sing really well. You're really talented, but your look isn't what we're looking for.
Which is kind of funny because remember when I told you about The Voice and I showed you that one video from the Dutch version of The Voice, and you were like, oh, so basically they don't ever see the person. They have to listen to them first. And I was like, yeah, and that's the whole point of why I had a little bit, not a whole lot, but a little bit more respect for this show versus American Idol, because they're actually trying to hone in and focus on how the person sounds and what kind of talent they have versus how they look. So it's a little bit better, but your point is kind of funny that,
it kind of contradicts himself.
Right,
exactly. Themselves about like, okay, yeah, you can sing, but even though the judges aren't going to look at you, we see you already, so yeah, thank you, come again.
But, and that's just part of culture, I guess, and how things have evolved over time, because everything's going to change, and I mean, big changes happen every so many years. I mean, think about where was music when it very first started. Who really knows? But I kind of think back to like where was the changing point from like classical stuff to start going and progressing from there, and how many times has it changed over since then?
Yeah, I don't know.
It also had an interesting point by a friend of ours on a Saturday night who, and I don't believe her, and I don't think she kind of sees it, and maybe it's because she's not as into music as musician as we are, but she thinks that music has reached its peak. It's reached its dead end. It can't be evolved anymore. It can't be anything new. Everything that can be done has been done, but I really don't see how that's true at all. Um, yes, there's a lot of bad stuff out there in terms of it's not quite what we would consider music, but
Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, a lot of the stuff we're talking about is pop music. You still have other music, new artists out nowadays who are really good. I mean, I talked earlier about the start of this new century. You have the White Stripes, and
yep.
you have the Black Keys, and you have Cage the Elephant and stuff like that. I mean, they are talented bands.
And that brings me to my point of good music inspires new music. And that's something that, you just have to keep in mind that, yeah, there's all these things that are quote unquote popular today that, may not sound that great. But as long as there are people out there willing to experiment and that are immersing themselves in, decent or good music, they're going to be taking like, oh, well, I kind of like the bass line rhythm thing that they're doing here, but I kind of like what they're doing over here. What if I take it and make it my own and meld it together? I know that's something that people always talk about our songs, that we don't have a lot of originals, so we do a lot of covers, but people always love our covers because they're never straight covers. I mean,
Yeah,
like you
tributes.
call it, exactly, like you call it, they're tributes. They're no longer covers. They have elements and the basic structure of what the original song was, but we twist it and mold it and make it into our own. But there's a lot of things that are going on today. Dave Grohl, I think, he's is a very, very interesting person. Just overall, the things that he's done with his career and his life, from where he got started, for those of you who don't know, crawl out from under your rock. And Dave Grohl was one of the founding members and the drummer of Nirvana.
Well, he's not a founding member. He was
He
was the fifth drummer.
He wasn't the founding member, but he's the one that people will recognize the most when it comes to Nirvana.
Yeah, he's the only
the
drummer
first-
people remember from Nirvana.
He will be. He's not one of the founding, but he definitely one that will remember. Of course, the first album, the one that I remember was Chad Channing being on the drums for that Bleach album. But Dave Grohl, he branched out after Nirvana basically ended, quit. I don't know how politely to put it. Ceased to be.
Yeah, pretty much.
He had the Foo Fighters, and anybody who's ever listened to the Foo Fighters or followed the Foo Fighters, I mean, there is definitely an evolutionary track of where their songs have gone from and where they've been.
I think their actual best albums are the ones they do in his basement
Yeah,
or his garage. Like their first album, he did them all. He did the whole album by himself. He went to recording studio down the
just
street,
down the street, and
he did the whole thing by himself. And it became a hit album. And then, what was that? The Color and the Shape.
no. I think that was their the self-titled, the first one with all the, all for all the cows and all that.
Yeah, well, I just said that already. I was already talking about the first album.
Yeah.
And their second album.
Oh, you're talking about the second. Okay.
Second album. Thank you. Jeez. The second album was Color and the Shape, and that was
that's one of my favorites.
that's an amazing album.
Probably my favorite out of all the Foo Fighter albums is definitely Color and the Shape. I can never not listen to that thing from beginning to end. And anybody who's, had a good run with listening to music and things like that, yeah, there are going to be a lot of bands, even though you love them, that you listen to their album and be like, I don't really feel like listening to that right now. I'm just going to skip that song, and jump through the one that you like. But Color and the Shape, for me, through and through, from one all the way to the end, and I can listen to that all the way and all day long.
All right, well, every band, especially a band that's been around for, say, 20 years, always have a bad album. This one is just so bad, you're just like, I might like one song, but other than that, the rest of it is crap.
Right.
Now, do you see any Foo Fighter albums like that?
Well, the thing is, a lot of the later Foo Fighter albums I was not following. Probably after, let's see, the one that they released after Color and the Shape, with Learn to Fly. That one was probably one of the last albums that I really followed them with, and then after that, they got a little more mainstream, and I just lost touch with it after a while, and I didn't listen to the albums as much. I think that's my issue with them.
Well, see, the thing is, like, there's the one that has The Pretender.
Yes,
That album, it was Echoes,
Echoes, Silence, and Patience.
and Grace, yeah.
Yeah.
That album, at first, I was like, yeah, it's okay, but then sometimes you have to go through an album a few times before it really
Yes.
digs his claws into you. And then that is one of those albums where I listen to it a few times and I'm like, oh, wait, this is a great song. Oh, this is a great song. And before you know it, oh, the whole album's great.
I've definitely run into that quite a bit. And sometimes you not only have to listen to it a few times, sometimes you have to put it on the shelf for a little bit. And, pick it up like a month or two later. Like, oh, yeah, well, I'm not really listening to anything right now. I'll throw that on and give it a shot. And you're like, oh, wow. How did I miss that
Maybe
before?
you just have to be in a certain mood
That
to
too.
listen to it.
Which kind of, brings us back to our whole point of, what is good music? Well, good music should be something that really speaks to you and, gets at you. And maybe that's why we're so prejudiced against all this pop stuff that's out there today, because it doesn't really grab you or, tug at your emotions. And,
Well, that's always been pop music. Pop music is not something that people remember.
right.
I mean, it's here today, gone tomorrow. That's what pop music is. It's just something you can dance to, and it's nothing that has longevity. It's going to just be, something real quick, and then it's gone out of your life forever.
Right.
We're talking about the music that lasts forever.
And, when you're speaking about that, going back to Dave Grohl, he had this one great post that I read when I was on Facebook, and it just, like, really hit me, and it's just like, wow. And it's the truth, and it comes to anybody who's out there trying to actually make music or play music. I mean, this is definitely it. So Dave Grohl wrote, when I think about kids watching a TV show like American Idol or The Voice, then they think, oh, okay, that's how you become a musician. You stand in line for 8 fucking hours with 800 people at a convention, and then you sing your heart out for someone, and then you get told that it's not fucking good enough. Well, can you imagine? It's destroying the next generation of musicians. And, I mean, right there alone, thinking about, like, Ernie, who tried out for that shit, and a lot of the other people who've done that. And so Grohl continues to go on saying that musicians should go to a yard sale, buy an old fucking drum set, and get in their garage and just suck. And you get your friends to come over, start playing, and they'll have the best time of their lives, and you guys will all be sucking too, basically. But you kind of keep going at it, and but you'll have the best time of your lives, and suddenly he writes here that, and then all of a sudden they'll become Nirvana, because that's exactly what happened with Nirvana. Just a bunch of guys that had some shitty old instruments, and they got together and started playing some noisy-ass shit, and they became the biggest band in the world. And that can happen again. You don't need a fucking computer or the internet or The Voice or American Idol. And I think that kind of sums up our feelings right there.
Yeah.
It's all about, making something that you're passionate about.
I mean, I never really watched The Voice or American Idol because I looked at it and like, what is this?
Right.
Now, is it mainly focusing more on pop stars?
Yes.
I mean, do they have bands come on there, or
those shows are more individual, so definitely more a pop star figure. I mean, some of the people that have come out of there, or the people that go on to play there, they may be musicians, like they'll be a singer-songwriter kind of person, but you are selling yourself. You're not actually, selling the whole band. Now, there are other shows out there now, like America's Got Talent, that focuses on a wide range of things, and on that show, you can have people who come in and like, oh, we're a band, and this is what we do, and all that. But there's not a lot of shows out there for a whole piece band. I mean, a lot of times it's more focused on an individual and single person. And so people who are bands.
So America's Got Talent, is that kind of like the old Star Search kind of thing?
It really is. It really is. You don't have the whole rating system with the whole 3.5 stars.
Yeah.
And Johnny over here,
And you don't
he
have
only
Ed
got
McMahon.
2.5 stars. Speaking of Evan McMahon, where's my fucking money? I got my check.
Oh, your $10 million check?
Yeah.
It's in the mail.
Damn. I knew I should have put that change of address in sooner.
Yeah, well, you lost. You lost out.
Yeah. But, I mean, for anybody who's ever tried to go out there and try to get your name heard or just get your music out there, I mean, it's a struggle. Just trying to even find places that are willing to let you play there.
Believe us, we know.
And it's not even like we're, shooting for big bucks or anything like that. We're just saying, hey, we'll even play here for free. Can we just play here?
We have played somewhere for free.
More than once.
Yes.
We had, the show at least 2 shows at Tom's Sports Tavern that, we did.
I remember the first one. It was some old guy's 90th birthday or whatever it was.
Was that the first one or the one where we were outside before that?
No, it was the first one.
The first one is the old guy.
We were supposed to be outside, but it was raining, so they tucked us in like the corner, like a couple of bad kids.
And I remember that day too, because that was the day that I was lugging everything into my car, and I'm picking up my damn brand new PA system that just had purchased, and it's got cat piss all over it.
Yeah.
And it's like, hooray! Thank you. Gotta love my cat.
Yep.
But yeah, we set up. Anybody who's never been to Tom's, I mean, it is not a spacious bar, and that's putting it politely.
I mean, it's a dive bar,
And there's nothing wrong with that. But,
yeah, but
what comes to territory with dive bars is it's not spacious, and we have a lot of equipment.
Yeah.
So yes, we were tucked away.
So yeah, there was a birthday party, and there was 100 people in there.
There was not 100 people in there. It felt like 100 people.
Well, you didn't count everybody, did you? I mean, there was all right, maybe 50 people. I'll cut it in half for you.
That one I can actually believe a little.
Okay,
better,
the bar, Tom's Sports Bar could not hold 100 people in there, but
no.
we'll be more realistic here and say 50 people.
Yes.
And so it was a 90-year-old guy, had his birthday, and he had a heat stroke or something in there because it was so hot in there.
It was so hot. It was raining outside, and and so rain
humid.
outside means it's freaking hot and humid.
Yeah.
And the inside and everything. Plus, very, very popular old guy, so that's why there were 50 people in there.
Not 100, but 50.
But it was very hot in there. Plus, we're playing music, so people are dancing.
We didn't even start yet. We were just still setting up.
That's true. That's right. That happened right before we even started playing. Yeah.
And we were just about to play, and then, he keels over. Now, he didn't die or anything.
Although we were kind of worried about that. Like, what a great first show.
Yeah, so, and the ambulance came, and
yeah, they took him away.
And then, half hour later, he came back.
Yeah, they told him to go home and rest, and he was like, I gotta get back to my birthday party.
And that's when we saw the coolest old man in history.
Well, it wasn't just that. I mean, I don't know if you remember this guy. I mean, this is the guy who, at 90 years old, he not only did that, he came back, danced to some of our songs after he came back. And at 90, he's still getting lap dances from young girls. I remember that. And I'm like, between him and Mr. Ephraim, older gentleman who he used to work with, those two are my heroes. And they are who I aspire to be when I become a grumpy old man.
Yeah, if you're going to be a grumpy old man, be those two grumpy old men.
Yeah. I mean, these guys, I mean, they're still getting lap dances. You can get away with doing anything because you're old. So girls would kind of just shy it away like it's nothing. Like, oh, whatever. He's old. He doesn't know what he's doing. Little did they know that at that age we're probably still know what we're doing and we're just trying to get away with it.
Yeah, I remember hearing a story about Mr. Ephraim, and he slapped one of the girls' ass at work, and first she was, or no, he
No. I remember that story. It was It was our good friend Laura, and she was cleaning out her fish tank, and being cleaning out a fish tank, she was bent over a little bit, and so a little some was
Whale tail.
showing.
Whale tail.
Exactly. So Mr. Ephraim goes up there and he pokes her in the ass. Now, what would any girl do? Of course, to get freaking riled up, and she got heated.
Start swinging.
And as she turned around and was about to yell and just roll into whoever did that, sees that it was Mr. Ephraim, and he's got there with his grin and his laughing and his going, and you know, when she saw that, like it was just like all the hatred and rage just oozed out of her. Just like, oh, Ephraim. And I just stood there gawking like, how do I reach that point in my life?
One day, son, one day.
But I definitely can't wait to reach that point. So, you know, with the talking about, you know, the real music and good music and how I was saying
We're
earlier.
back to that again now. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we got to, you know, jump back and forth here a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about that and how I was saying good music inspires new music. I've always had, for me, I've had my top 3 influential bands. I mean, now over the years, there are lots and lots of different bands that'll change your perspective on things and, you know, how you want to play and or what you want to play. And for me, the top 3 that always got me started are always going to be the Beatles, you know, which kind of seems cliche for a lot of people, but it really was. I mean, growing up, my dad, you know, would always have the Beatles on in the car, playing it on road trips, and so I really got into that. And not only just the earlier poppy type of Beatles, but I mean the whole evolution all the way through like White Album and Revolution, that album. But I had the Beatles, then I had Nirvana, who, once again, I mean, all these bands sound kind of cliche, but they really did, you know, change my perspective on what music can be.
I think they changed everybody's perspective on
Not everybody.
on everybody's.
Not everybody. Because remember, I told you
looking
about
at
that one guy
music.
who posted on Facebook about how Nirvana is one of the worst bands ever. And
Well, yeah. Well, he has no life.
yeah. And then, of course, my number 3 to round it out is Sublime. Because for any of you who don't know, I'm big into ska music and punk, and Sublime was just a fusion of those. And even though they were a fusion of it, they kind of split me a little bit because being introduced into them is how I kind of got into the ska world and the punk world a little bit, and got to mess around, and that's how some of our songs these days kind of have a little bit of that, all those elements kind of combined. So what about for you? What kind of bands, if you had to narrow it down to no more than 3, or at least your top ones, that kind of influence your style?
Well, first is the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I wanna learn how to play the guitar, and then I would listen to like Eric Clapton and stuff like that. And Prince was another one I listened to.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing a music video of some concert that Red Hot Chili Peppers were doing. I saw Flea playing the bass, and he was like doing somersaults and not messing up at all, and he's just playing his freaking heart out. And I'm like, wow, forget the guitar. I want to play the bass. I want to roll around like that. And so, like, and I was like, all right, well, who else is, if I want to play the bass, I want to know who are the great ones, like, so I listened to Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I'm like, Rush was the next one I listened to, because, like,
Right.
Geddy Lee, I'm a dork, and, that's like nerd music right there, and yeah, those crazy bass riffs and stuff he does.
Right.
Blows me away. And then you have I would say also Primus,
Okay.
for bass influence, because he does crazy stuff on the bass. I mean, I've never seen anybody ever do that.
Right.
Do the stuff he does.
And that's the thing when you think about all these bands that we're talking about, and the music that they play and the shows that they put on. It's all about having that passion in there, and that's kind of
Exactly. They all have passion. And you see it, you hear it in how they play.
that's the issue that I have with today's music and today's quote unquote pop music and popular music. And when you have auto tune and you have all these things that are made to take out all the imperfections, you can't get the rawness anymore. You can't get the emotion from the singers or the musicians. You can't get the feeling and the passion out of it anymore. The issues that I have is that imperfections are pretty much the soul of music, in my opinion. Think about all these musicians that have been. Kurt Cobain's a big one. Social D in terms of singers, vocalists who have crappy ass voices,
No
or they
else.
sing really crappy.
No else has like a voice that just like it's like he swallowed like a whole like jar full of gravel. Tom Waits.
Exactly.
Tom Waits. Like I remember, this was like an earlier stuff, and his voice then and his voice now, it's just like big,
Big difference.
big difference.
Right.
But it's like he's unique, you know. I mean, that voice even makes him more unique now.
Well, it's just
And
honestly, I don't know how you feel, but I can't not think of Bob Dylan whenever I hear Tom Waits, because that's another one.
Bob Dylan,
That
yeah.
Yee. When it comes to Dylan, it wasn't just the passion and the music that he played that kind of gave him that credibility, but for him, what always inspired me about him is just the damn songwriting.
Yeah, he is a hell of a songwriter.
Oh my God! I mean, if you ever get a minute to actually sit down and read the lyrics to these songs he's singing, it's just like the storytelling that goes on in them. It's just like wow, and I think that has hit me.
It's
a little
almost
bit.
like a poetic, epic journey you're going through.
It is, and I know when we first started playing together, you were just kind of like, oh, you wrote a song, okay, and then we play it and we have fun playing it, and it wasn't until like a little bit afterwards that you actually sat down and listened to some recordings that we did from like open mic or stuff that I wanted to record and stuff like, and you actually had a chance to sit down and listen, and I think you can see how people like Bob Dylan have influenced my songwriting, because you look at it and you're like, damn, dude, these are actually some pretty decent lyrics you got going on here, because if you ever sit down, yeah, I mean, I tried to, I mean, The Wallflower is a freaking story in and of itself. The Unpopular, I mean, it's got a whole story.
And that was actually, from that was, Unpopular is actually a funny thing. When we wrote that, we were actually known as the Unpopulars. That's when we started out.
And,
We had a drummer named, your friend Dan,
Yeah.
was a drummer.
and it's not like there was any, and I feel really bad about the whole situation. I feel really shitty about it, because it's not like we had a falling out with him or anything like that, but it's just, he lives in Rockville.
So a little far away.
And out of respect, we even changed our name because of that fact. It's like, hey, look, we came up with the name Unpopulars. As great as a band name as it is, we came up with it together. It would be unfair for us to keep that.
Well, we went to his house at one time. Remember that? And where
We went up to Rockville to hang out at his apartment condo.
and got drunk.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
A little tipsy. For any of you who don't know,
We were like college drunk.
the man sitting to the right of me, he does not do any kind of hard liquor.
I'm a lightweight. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a beer drinker. Yeah, definitely. He can hold his liquor with that, but he doesn't do shots. He doesn't do any kind of liquor. But he was
I can
doing
hold my
liquor.
beer. I can't hold my liquor. Is what you meant to say.
Yeah, because I mean, he did shots that night, and it was evident.
Yeah, if I even smell a shot, I'll be like, what?
I think that it'll definitely have to be another show that we do, is just sitting down, because I still have it, doing all the songs that we recorded that night. I have it sitting here. Oh God, it was the Unpopulars. What was it? I had a name for it, but I'll look that up while.
Oh, the Talented While Drunk.
Talented While Drunk. Yes, that was the name of the album that we quote unquote put together.
And I only bring that up because when you said Unpopular song, that's where that song kind of we gave birth to that song.
And you know what? It kind
drunken jamming.
And you know what? And it kind of ties it all together again, where I was saying imperfections are the soul of music, because God knows that night was full of imperfections, but because of the happenstance that happened that night of, oh man, yeah, and and then we're listening to it again, like, I really like that bass line you did. Why don't you play that again? And
Like, okay, well, then I played it, but I didn't play it the exact same way because I was sober this time.
yeah,
But I actually played it better.
and I was like, oh, I like that. I like that.
I like that better.
And then I went and I picked up the guitar and I started doing stuff to it. And then I was like, hold on, wait a minute.
What kind of stuff did you do to it?
Not that kind of.
You said you did stuff to it.
Well,
You can love your guitar, but you can't love your guitar.
no, that's very painful. Those strings are sharp, man.
Yeah, and you might get splinters too.
So I came up with a very very basic guitar part to it because the song just straight from the get go, I knew right away that it's a bass driven song, and that's what it was gonna be. So I didn't try to do too much with the guitar, just very simple. And then I was like, oh hey, wait a minute, I have these lyrics that I wrote up. Now I can't remember to this day if I wrote the lyrics before or after we created the music for the song, but the fact that these are about 3 or 4 different things that piece together to create this song.
Yep.
And that's what music's about. It's not about having some guy sit in a room and go, all right, you're the next big thing. So here's the song, somebody wrote it for you already. Here's the music, somebody wrote that for you. So just play it, sing it, and that's it.
Yep.
And that's kind of why I think that popular music is boring for us, because it's too structured. And
Remember, we're talking about pop music. I mean, even older pop music wasn't as bad as it is today.
that's true, and that's what I'm saying.
I mean, because back in the 80s and 90s, you had at least people that could sing without being auto-tuned.
You did have that, and don't forget too. Like people forget, as great as Motown was, and as talented as those people were, most of those people didn't write their own songs.
Yep.
They were written for them. They just kind of had a book, and it's like, hey, okay, so here are all these songs that this guy wrote. See what you can do with it. And even back then, even with that being the sense of popular music, they didn't write their own stuff. They may have had a say in the music and how it went, but they didn't write their own stuff. It still was given to them, or they were told what to do and what style to do. They still had a shit ton more talent than the people today.
Oh, yeah.
The voices that came out of Motown, I mean...
Yeah, there's no comparison to then and now. I mean, now it's all about being beautiful.
It really is. And it just makes me wonder where, music is going to be in the next few years, because there's always an evolution of things. I mean, think about classical music and into like music like in the 1800s and things like that. It had a certain style and distinction to it because that was the technology then. When you start getting into the 50s and 60s, we got electric now, so everything's amped up. You have, distortion and things like that. Get into the 80s and 90s, really. All right, well, we have
the
this.
70s. You skipped the 70s.
Because the 70s had disco.
Well, true. There was disco. But you also got to remember there was that was the last gasp of rock and roll.
Right.
And it was the birth of punk. I mean,
But-
someone who says they're into punk and ska, you totally miss the 70s where punk was born.
Well, what I'm kind of getting at is that, not that I meant to deliberately leave out the 70s.
Yeah, you did.
I don't know. Some of the older folks out there probably be like, oh, no, it's fine that he left out the 70s. We don't even want to think about the 70s. 70s are...
Or a blur.
I couldn't even talk about the 70s if I wanted to.
Totally not.
But things evolved, and to where like, oh, well, now more distortion into punk music, and then into metal music and stuff like that. Well, now in this new age, you have digital, which is fine. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of decent stuff out there that's incorporates the whole digital scene and digital music, but it makes you wonder where everything's gonna go from now, because that was the evolution. Then what's the next step?
Robots are going to be the singing.
Robots do the singing? That is auto-tune.
No, I mean real robots. Like
Siri on my phone.
Exactly. She needs the extra cash, so she's going to start singing for you.
Oh, by the way, with the update, I now have a choice of either a male voice or a female voice.
We all know where you went, dude. You went with the dude voice in you.
But I love it because they had the update and they're like, "Oh, Siri sounds now more human-like and less robotic," and it's like, okay.
Does she tell you stories?
I wish she could. Maybe like help you go to sleep at night.
Like, does she ever like randomly say, "Hey, Ray, how you doing?"
Now that would be something rather than me having to go to her all the time.
I know.
Why does she come to me?
Wow. I mean, what's it always got to be about her?
Because it's a woman.
Ah, true.
Yeah.
We apologize to all the women in the world.
If we apologized to all the women in the world every time we made a comment like that, the show would never be over.
Well, just make a quick apology and you'll be fine.
Right.
They probably don't accept it anyway, but who cares? We at least tried.
We tried. But, well, I mean, that...
So, I'm sorry. Continue. What you were saying?
Oh, that was done.
Oh, you were done.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty much it, all I got.
That's all you got?
Yeah. But, that's not too, shabby for our first show here. And, once again, the imperfection of it. We had nothing... We had an outline of this, but nothing, like, really planned.
We're ad-libbing. Totally.
Because of the imperfections of it, we came up with, at least 2 more ideas for shows coming up. We're going to talk about, the Drunken Goldschlager Baby sessions.
Yes, we will go more in depth with the Drunken Goldschlager Baby.
And then we will also go more in depth with the Talented While Drunk album by the Unpopulars.
You can actually hear... We'll actually play the Drunken Unpopular song, and then we'll play the real one.
Yes, there's a lot of great songs on that album, including... I can't think of
The
it.
Joker. You remember?
The Joker, that's the one I'm trying to say, The Joker, yeah.
What was the song where, like, we stopped because Dan couldn't find his beer?
Probably The Joker was one of them. Or was it your song? It might have been.
I don't know.
Yeah, and you get to hear the first rendition of one of Eric's originals that he wrote for the band. With
My
Attention
one and only
Junkie.
song that we'll ever write.
One and only song they ever wrote that
We'll ever write.
And will ever write that once it was given I'm gonna change about half this song around.
Yeah, it was a good attempt, but
But I'm gonna change this, and we're gonna do this, and this. And he'd be like,
why don't you just play the bass and we'll leave the writing to me? Is what
Pretty
you were trying to
much.
say.
Yeah, but I guess that will pretty much conclude this episode, I guess you can call it, of The Fifth Wheel. I don't know. We don't really have a name for this podcast. I guess we should come up with something.
We'll come up with something on the next show.
On the next show there. But we'll leave you with a little bit more of the Creeper as we end our show here. And thank you all for listening. And hope you have a good day, night, or wherever you're at.
Bye.
Watch out.